city meetings, you know, I wouldn't bet against a lawsuit on that, actually.
I would normally take my chances till I'm told no. I go all the way till they prove it. And then, oh, I believe you, thank you.
So back to the question, either of you want to do it?
I'll do it.
Okay, Hasten, you got it.
When we start, we're good to go?
Yeah, that'll be at the
Yeah.
beginning of the.
Ross is in charge today.
Yeah, are the city people out here?
Sean is gonna be late. So it'll just be the 5 of you.
Okay. I'm so used to standing up, so we'll do.
Yeah, we do it in the.
In the other room.
You don't wanna do it now? I got excited.
He was ready.
Yeah, I'm so
So then I'd have to get two of them.
Two of them, okay. I'll do my own.
Lots of guidance today. Should we start?
Oh,
All right, 3.1, Washburn Park. This is down at the corner of the 15 and University Parkway. They are taking one lot and splitting it into 3. So this is what it currently looks like. This is where IHOP is, and then there's a big empty parking lot and then a piece of dirt between IHOP and the freeway.
Where McGrath's used to be, right?
I don't know.
Yes, correct. Cheryl hasn't been here that long.
We'll forget.
Thank you.
Wow.
Have it all. So this is showing how the new plat will look with IHOP as lot 1, and then there'll be a car wash in lot 2 and a Valvoline oil in lot 3. So this is the proposed plat. This is the elevations of the car wash and the floor plan, basically a tunnel where you drive your car through. Neither one of these will people ever get out of their vehicle. Even in the lube wash, they will be in their car the whole time. They'll drive through the lube bay, they'll change their oil, they'll drive out. They never get out of their car. And this is the lube bays. Landscaping, there's some existing landscaping around the perimeter of the property because there's IHOP and University Parkway, but there will be additional interior landscaping between the buildings and around the buildings. And then parking, Shauna had a question on this and she's not here, so. They're required to have 59 parking spaces, they have 84. The car wash is required to have 6 and they have 6. And the lube center is required to have 14 and they have 19. So 20 new spaces are required and they're providing 25 new spaces. And this is street views, one looking from University Parkway kind of southeast and one from IHOP looking west. And we just recommend that you vacate the Plat A amended, and that is not a typo, that's on the plat. And approve the new Washburn Park Plat B. Any questions on this one? Okay, pretty straightforward. Madsen Estates, they currently have 1 large lot. They want to split it into 2. So this is the location. And the preliminary plat. And the plat. So on this one, the issue is the garage at the south end of the lot. Right now it's 1 lot, so the garage is fine, but when they split it into 2 lots, that you cannot have an accessory building standing alone on a lot. So they have to pay a bond guaranteeing that they'll start construction on the new home within a year because they really want to keep that garage. And they've also moved the property line further north to accommodate that. It can only be 8% of the total square footage of the lot. And so moving that property line further north accommodates that, so they are now within 8%. And this is a picture of the garage that they want to keep. And this is looking south from the existing house, and that house will stay. They'll build a new house on the lot 2, but this existing house will stay. Oops, I went too far, sorry. And so we recommend you approve that preliminary plat. Okay, now I can foundation.
have there been any inquiries about either of those first 2 items?
No,
These are cases where it fits already, but. Okay.
yeah, it's just, it's a huge lot right now, it's plenty big enough.
Yeah.
Both
Yeah,
lots
it's
meet the
plenty big.
requirements, yeah. So, there's been no comment on any of the four. Now I can foundation. Okay, this one, I am going to,
Let's come back, go to the next one.
which one?
We'll see if Steve can come down for this.
Oh, okay. We're gonna skip over this one. We'll be back in a minute.
Well,
Fields at Lakeview, our favorite. They're here all the time. So this is regarding only Area B, and that is the part in red in the corner on Geneva Road in 2000 South. I didn't say that very well. It was originally proposed that that corner would be an active adult and future office. However, they have changed that. They've taken those made it larger. As you can see, Area B is smaller than this existing plat. Those housing units they've taken and they've spread them out. They're not adding any additional units. The whole project will have the same amount of housing units. They've just moved them to other areas, to the west. I was gonna say the left, but to the west. So this plat shows that better, where you have the larger Area B, and then if you look over in the southwest corner, you'll see that there are additional units there. So I go back to the other one, you can see it was wetlands before, and they have gone to the Army Corps of Engineers and gotten permission to do that. I don't know if they've drained it or moved the wetlands somewhere else. That's Army Corps of Engineers. The city doesn't have any control of that, as far as I know. So
They did a delineation with the Army Corps, and the Army Corps determined they were no wetlands in that corner, and they provided us that documentation from the Army Corps.
So they are also changing the use in that Area B from future office and active adult to commercial. So they're having to change the PD 43 text, taking out the senior independent living and putting in commercial development. So that's what this text is about.
they have two options there.
Yes, and I'll get to that, but yes, they do. So the masonry fence, you might think, well, what is that in there for? They have to have a masonry fence between the commercial and the residential. And the problem is there's a water main that runs underneath it on the north part of that property line, and they cannot put a masonry fence over that water main. So that's why we put it in the code that they could not do that. They can put a panel fence where if they need to get in and repair the water main, they can take the panels out, they can put a gate, but they cannot put the wall. So that's what that's about. Okay, so they do have two concept plans because they don't know which one they're going to use. So they'll have two options. Option A is a smaller grocery store with a mezzanine, and then the commercial facing or fronting Geneva Road and down on the corner. So, and these are elevations of what they think will be there. Option 2 is a larger grocery store, which takes out the commercial along Geneva Road and leaves one pad left for a drive-through type restaurant or soda or something drive-through on the corner. So those are the two options, and they don't know which one they're going to do yet. This is what it looks like right now. This is the area. 2000 South will be finished. Oh, and so it won't look like this. They also have the entrance that they have now. Let me go back and see if that's on there. To the north will be closed off to the residential. Right now it's open to residential. So they're going to close that entrance off. They will open up the south entrance off of 2000 South. So that road will be finished, at least to that entrance for now. I think we're working with Provo to finish that, or to work on that road. I don't know how far it will go.
Yeah, Provo is currently building Lakeview corridor up from the south up to the Orem boundary at 2000, and then they will build a connector on 2000 over to Geneva Road. So they're working the developer on that access right now. But Provo has control over 2000 South.
And they call it 2000 North, so you may see 2000 North on some plans and 2000 South, depending on if it's Provo or Orem writing or who they're writing the plans for. So just because it says on this one 2000 North, that's our 2000 South. They did have a neighborhood meeting, and these are the minutes, people who came, and then some people couldn't make it, so they emailed in. we recommend forward a positive recommendation to the city council for these changes on just area B of Fields of Lakeview. And then for 3.3, we're gonna wait for
Well,
Steve.
that seems to me like a great place to put commercial with all of that housing down there.
Yeah, I mean,
I
I
would
would
guess
find
this
it
would
there,
be
I love the
successful.
grocery store right there,
Should be good, that's where the gas station is going on the other side.
yeah.
Should be there in 2000. So they need more commercial, so they're trying to amend it where they add more residential into that section, but keep the same amount of units and turn that those small to commercial.
Yeah, so they moved those residential units that were there into another area of the development and just made that area be more, to be commercial and larger. So they're not really adding any more units to the development, they're just moving them from one place to another.
And they've actually only reduced units because they were going to build senior housing on that corner.
Oh,
Like
they
a stacked senior housing development at one time.
So compared to what they were planning, they've reduced.
They've reduced
And that,
residential.
that area doesn't have any grocery stores right now.
No.
In need. Yeah, just like Vineyards.
The housing that's left is not senior housing.
There is senior housing.
This top
further
corner,
to the
this top
back,
left corner
yeah.
is senior housing.
But they were gonna do more of an intense stacked senior housing, not, those are detached,
Multi-story.
smaller homes, twin homes and whatnot.
Back behind.
So now they're changing it to commercial. We're waiting for Steve. So we'll go ahead, we'll go back to 3.3, but we'll wait for Steve. He's been working with this, so he knows the details.
We have any emails from residents around that neighborhood? Everything's good.
We haven't heard anything. We sent out 276 postcards. Here, one.
That's
Oh, that weren't, isn't, in the agenda, I thought I saw a bunch of written comments attached to the item in favor of it. Unless,
To the agenda?
So
Yeah, there was
On
emails.
the-
Tracy sent an email to the planning commission, which I forwarded to all of you, and then there's attachments in there with some emails from the neighbors.
Right.
I read those, I was talking about the last item, that commercial space, that grocery store and down in 2000 south.
Yeah.
Received any other notes?
So you can introduce it, Steve will be here in about 5 minutes.
Okay. So, this is kind of complicated one, so I'm gonna use my notes here. So we're amending Appendix A of the Orem City Code, which lists all the land use codes for the city, to enact Standard Land Use Code 6264 for small pediatric neurophysical therapy, and making it permitted in the R75 residential zone. And enacting Section 2269L to establish requirements for a small pediatric neurophysical therapy facility in the R75 zone. So the applicant is a nonprofit organization that provides intensive physical therapy to children suffering from neurological and neuromuscular disorders, such as cerebral palsy, traumatic brain surgery, spina bifida, and stroke. The foundation provides 3-week program of physical therapy to such children for 3 to 4 hours per day. Physical therapy is typically provided to no more than 4 to 5 children at a time, with typically 4 children in the morning and 4 in the afternoon. Most of the children who would come to the facility are local and would visit the facility on an outpatient basis. However, 25% of the children would come from out of town, and the applicant would like to allow the children coming from out of town to reside at the facility along with the parent or guardian for a 3-week period. So this zoning map shows the 7.5 zones. It would affect all 7.5 zones, not just this one address. So the bright yellow, that's all 7.5. This is where the current facility is located. This is the ordinance that Steve has written up, and the SLU code, showing that it's only allowed in the R75 zone. And this is what the facility looks like.
Back through and just kind of go through the standards. Let's go through the standards.
The ordinance. So they can only provide therapy to children ages 17 and under who suffer from neurological and neuromuscular disorders. small pediatric physical therapy facility may not provide therapy to more than 5 children at a time. No more than 2 car trips per hour shall be generated in connection with the use between 5:30 a.m. and 9 p.m. At least 8 parking stalls shall be located on site to meet the needs of the patients and staff. They're located in an existing residential dwelling. I guess you could, and any new structure constructed for use shall be of size, scale, and design that is in harmony with other residential uses within 500 feet of the facility. The city may require building and fire inspections. There is no exterior evidence of use on the property other than one wall, no greater than 6 square feet in area, parking on site. No activities connected with the operation of the facility shall be conducted in the front yard or in a side yard adjacent to a street, with the exception of parking in a permitted driveway or parking area. And it shall comply with the site plan requirements set forth in 221420. The site plan shall be configured so that no vehicle will back out onto a dedicated street.
So, sorry, a size, scale, and look, design that's in harmony with residential uses. So it would have to look like a house, basically. Is there a limit on how big it can be? How big can
Well, in
houses
the
be?
R75 zone, 35 feet is the maximum height.
Now, this property is already built out.
Right, yes. And
So
it's-
there's
it's
no need-
vacant.
Okay, so can we see a picture of the building?
Yeah.
And what was it used for before? A house?
Originally, it was built for hospice,
So this was a hospice facility in an R75?
originally.
And hospice was okay,
Because
Designed specifically for hospice, yes.
okay, so it does have room for people to stay.
mhm. Group homes are allowed, or were allowed in the residential areas like this. If the people lived there, they had staff on site 24/7
They were limited to 8 per building.
per building.
Okay.
But this facility that they're proposing, they will not be living there, so it doesn't qualify as a group home for disabled.
So this building, just a little bit of back history, the applicant wanted to really build a grandiose type facility with a maximum of 8 people per building. We told him at the time that it was really overbuilt, but he built it anyway and lasted maybe a year or so in that business. It's been, hit and miss, been vacant for quite some time, so I don't think we're gonna get this type of facility necessarily, but this is what we need to deal with now. But in
Yes.
other locations, it's probably gonna be more like, looks like a single family.
So it does look like a home, but, okay.
But it affects the whole R75, so everywhere in R75.
Everyone's-
So if they
yeah.
built another one, it would have to look like a home.
How many different things like this can go into an R7.5 already? You can have a hospice,
Have hospice, you can have sober living, those types of, and they're typically limited to, maximum, a senior care facility, which are older, that need help, can have a maximum of 8. So that's typically what we've done, is allowed to 8 individuals based on the type of use.
So a facility like this now is allowed for drug rehab. If somebody wants to go in for drug rehab, they can.
Sober living, yes,
So, yeah, okay, sober living. Like STEPS recovery system.
but a current user, to still have to, somebody that's currently using it, wouldn't, that kind of facility wouldn't be able.
So the negatives for it would be, or potential negatives would be allowing physical therapy use in a residential zone, would introduce non-residential uses, in this case medical uses, into a residential zone. So not right now, you can't do that. Outpatients can't, facilities cannot be, or like medical outpatients cannot be in a residential zone, they have to be in a commercial zone. Second, allowing this use in the R75 zone would allow it anywhere in the zone and not just at the proposed location. This type of use might be suitable at the 2 properties on 375 East, but it might not fit so well in other areas of the zone. Third, allowing this use in the R75 zone could open the door to others who may want to do similar uses, such as other kinds of therapy in the R75 or other residential zones, such as the R8 zone. Fourth, although the applicant has proposed a limit of 10 children who may receive therapy at the facility in a day, the 2 buildings the applicant wants to use are very large and would probably accommodate a higher number of patients.
So what would stop from just giving an exemption only for that location? Why does it have to go to the whole city?
Because zoning ordinances have to be generally applicable laws. So you don't zone, or allow a use in just one location in our 75 zone. It has to be, if you're gonna allow it in the zone, it has to be allowed everywhere, so. So, I mean, one option would be to create a new zone,
Yeah, we
possibly.
invent new zones all the time.
Yeah, I mean, so that would be one possibility, but the problem would be, what you would essentially be, I mean, number one, we don't have a zone for that, we'd have to create a new zone.
Okay.
So it would have to be some sort of a zone that allowed, like a medical use type of a zone. And you'd be basically plopping it down, if you will, right in the middle of a residential neighborhood, which could be considered an illegal spot zone, possibly.
How?
So that's, how?
Illegal spots?
Illegal,
Okay.
illegal spot zone.
What is an illegal spot?
An illegal spot zone is when you are taking a small, or creating a zone in a small isolated area, usually surrounded by a totally different zone, and usually with a use that's completely different and usually incompatible, or, you know, and that's subjective, but incompatible with the surrounding zones.
So was the use there compatible with the surrounding zone, the prior use of this, or was it, I mean, I understand hospice is incompatible with
Well,
home.
so here's the thing, so hospice is a group home, so it can be considered a group home.
Okay.
A group home is a residential use, as opposed to rehab, which is a medical use. So group homes are basically, we're basically required in the Fair Housing Act to allow individuals with disabilities to live in a group home setting in a residential zone. And so it's considered a residential use, so you're not putting a non-residential use in a residential zone when you're doing that, when you're allowing a group home. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it's just, group home's still a commercial business.
Yeah, most often they are. Just like somebody who is renting their home, you could say that's commercial too. But they're still renting to tenants who live there. So it's still a residential use.
I see. But creating a new zone, well, what are the repercussions of creating an illegal
Yeah, who
spot?
sues us if we have an illegal spot?
Potentially the neighbors would be the ones,
So
if they wanted to.
So if the neighbors are against it, then, if the neighbors are for it, then it wouldn't be a problem.
Yeah, if they're for it, then less likely that they would sue us, yeah.
Okay, so it's only a neighbor issue,
Yeah,
not a state issue or a legal issue, only a neighbor issue.
yeah, I mean, that's who would bring a challenge to a spot zone, is neighbors.
And have they received any mailers or any postcards about what's going on today?
I think that Tracy, the applicant, has had a neighborhood meeting with them, from what I understand. And has told them about her.
Okay.
But the city has not sent them out any notices or anything like that.
And if we do that special zoning for it, we'll have to send notices.
Yeah,
So I would rather, instead of applying it to the whole city, is to make an exception for that location if it fits the neighbors, if the neighbors are okay with it. Then we don't have to make it a general free-for-all.
I'd go, I mean, a pediatric outpatient facility seems like such a no-brainer, like, yes, let's save the children. I would rather have broaden it to pediatric outpatient and apply it to all residential zones. Because it will look like a house when it's built, and it's not gonna bring in too many outsiders, too much traffic, whatever, and it just seems beneficial overall.
Either way, we have I mean, this doesn't look out of place, but it's designed out of place for the neighborhood, or the prior use, so either way would work, as long as.
I mean, quite honestly, these buildings are out of place in the neighborhood.
Okay,
I mean, they were built that way, and they were built, you know, in compliance with the setback requirements at the time, so there was nothing we could do to stop the person who built these from doing exactly what he did.
okay.
But clearly, they're very different from the other houses in the neighborhood. I mean, it's clearly designed to be a group home, institutional type of facility. It doesn't look like a place where you just have a single family gonna live there. And the insides are not designed that way either.
So they cannot turn back the homes.
Well, could they be? Sure. Will they ever be? No.
Okay, so now I agree with Sean on this, it's just, I'd like to see what the repercussion on in the whole city. I mean, as far as this project itself, I read through it, and I think it would be a good use for a vacant building that's sitting there doing nothing in a neighborhood, but what, if you wanna apply for the whole city, I mean,
What are the odds that there's gonna be a stampede of pediatric neurophysical therapy applications, you know, if we pass this,
that's very, very unlikely.
yeah.
Very, very little.
Can I ask, as far as all pediatric outpatient
facilities go? I mean, I agree what are the odds you turn up another one of those? But I'm not very familiar with outpatient facilities in general and how many pediatric ones specifically might be interested in building or relocating. Does anyone know pediatric outpatient? No, okay. Me neither. Sorry, go ahead.
But maybe Tracy could comment on that, because she's been looking for locations and some challenges.
Sure. I guess my only comment to that would be that from my experience as a special needs mom who moved here 19 years ago, I took my daughter to the only one pediatric outpatient physical therapy clinic in the whole county. And 19 years later, there's still only one besides us. And we're a little more unique because of our model where we only see, up to 4 patients a day in the morning, 4 in the afternoon. But there's no others.
Do you know if that's for lack of demand?
Well, it's a good question. I don't think it's a lack of demand because we have a lot of kids here in these valleys, But it's hard for a pediatric clinic to survive and to make money. And that other clinic is an IHC facility. And we're a charity, so thanks to our charitable donations, we're able to survive. They're able to survive because they're IFC, but there aren't any more around.
So this will open the door to have more than one option for people, which I would say.
Because my son went there and it was like really hard to get an appointment. So they need more, but what's the problem? Why aren't they supplying that? Is the charge, can you not charge very much, or why are they not providing that service?
I guess I don't know. I don't know why they aren't. I just know, from a business model, it's kind of different for, adult rehab. When we go to physical therapists, we can, get on the bike ourselves and ride the bike, and they can go over there and do those stretches, and they can treat more patients in a day than we can because we have to have a one-on-one, with that little 4-year-old walking them through every detail. So it takes more staff and for more money. So
Why aren't these in a commercial zone that already exists?
Sorry?
Why aren't you building this in a commercial zone that already exists?
That's a good question. I wish this were somewhere else, but it's not.
I would think it would be more accessible.
Yeah, I think any business would love it to be not in the neighborhood. But for us, we're kind of a homey, because people stay there 4 hours a day, they stay with us for 3 weeks. We're fine with it being in the neighborhood because we're kind of cozy in that way. Most other people's business model would not, it wouldn't be attractive. So I think that the way Steve has worded this in such a really narrow and specific way, nobody else would fit that except us. And there's not another clinic like us in many, many states. And there's not a building like that in many, many states. But for us, when we saw it, we were like, wow, that is built for us, exactly what we need. Because the halls are wide, it's a medical building. We have lead offers on other properties in commercial areas, but they just don't provide all the things that we need.
Where's the IHC facility?
It's by one community hospital.
Yeah,
That's where my son went.
400 south,
Can I just ask, I know that it was allowed as hospice before, right? How do, if they really are allowing children to come and stay for 3 weeks at a time when needed, could it not be considered essentially the same as the hospice and then not have to open it up to the rest of the city in that way? Because it does fit in that way.
Yeah, so Tracy and I have actually talked about that option a little bit. I think if you had a situation where people needed to stay there, like they're coming out of town, so they need a place to stay while they're getting their course of therapy, you probably could stretch the group home concept to fit that. The problem is you have, and Tracy can correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm told that only is about 25% of their patients. The rest of them are outpatient, where they live close enough where they can just come, get their therapy and treatment, and then go back to their homes. And so it's not a pure group home situation. So if it were only that, only people coming to stay, then yeah, you could probably stretch it to make that work. But because they have so many that are still coming on an outpatient basis, it it's not like a group home for those people.
Any other questions?
How long has it been vacant? Do we know?
I don't know.
When did you go out of business, Jason?
It's been a couple of years.
A couple of years, it's just been sitting there.
That's my understanding. I could be wrong. It hasn't been used often since he's went out of business, which was several years ago.
You can kind of tell by the timbers when it was built.
Yes.
It was actually 2015, I think. Yeah, it's pretty recent.
6 years? So 5 years, so they went in, built in 15,
I'd have to look at when he went out of business.
stayed in business
It
for 1 year,
didn't
and
last-
it's
Didn't
been,
last very long, so.
Is there any reason that 10 is the patient limit? What was the basis for that number?
So that's based on what Tracy indicated their program is and what she indicates is the max that she will ever have in a given time or in a given day. I mean, the idea was to make this as restrictive as possible while still meeting the applicant's needs, so that, you know, if somebody else, again, were to do this somewhere else, they would still be bound by those limitations and it couldn't be wide open to unlimited, which, you know, obviously the more kids you're having there in a day, the more car trips, you know, all those kinds of things. So it's just an effort to try and narrow the impact as much as possible.
Okay.
I read this, but I forgot. What's the parking situation here? How much on-site parking is there?
I think there's 12 or 13, 14 stalls,
That's
something like
required.
that.
And they're required to have 8.
Okay.
And again, that was a trade-off, that was again kind of thinking, obviously this site meets that requirement, but if you had another location that wanted to do that, you know, you want to have them require enough parking, but at the same time, you don't really want a lot of parking either, because that
Then it's
doesn't
a
look
big
right in
parking
the
lot in the
residential
middle
zone.
of
yeah.
neighborhood.
So just kind of attempt to strike that balance.
And this is one where you're gonna have to decide if you want to do a positive or negative
Yeah,
recommendation.
you didn't give us any help there.
It's up to you.
Can we modify that recommendation?
Well, when we make a motion, yeah, it will be modified from this.
What are you thinking, Sean?
Allow all pediatric outpatient in all residential zones?
We probably can't do that today, just because it was only noticed for the R75. So,
Okay, but it could be all outpatient pediatric in R75?
we're probably limited to just what the application does here. If you wanted to modify some of the standards, for example, if you wanted to, I don't know, reduce, say you wanted to reduce the number of kids from 10 to 8 a day or 5 to 4, you could do that. But you probably can't go beyond that. I mean, because again, what was noticed was just this particular use in this zone. If we wanted to do something different than that, then we'd have to renotice it as a different application.
So you asked
You
how
tried.
long.
But that, I mean, but honestly, there's not an immediate need, right, to do anything more than what's being proposed. I mean, what's being proposed meets the need for, now I can.
Would the council have to come back and ask for something all pediatric or all residential or whatever? Or if I made that motion, would you just have to renotice?
No, the council would have to give us direction to say, hey, we want to make this more broadly applicable, which is make a new application to do that. Or if somebody else wanted to do the same thing in another location, you know, they could make an application to do that.
I see, okay.
It's gonna be typically applicant driven, not city.
Yeah.
Okay, which makes sense, that's,
Okay.
which is great.
If this does pass, then.
That opens up
somebody
doors
wants
to
to
other
do-
people.
Other people might say, oh, well, that got passed, maybe they'll apply.
Right.
So I agree, I wish this wasn't as restrictive, but
Yeah, so if somebody had a location in the R8 zone, for example, then they could make an application to make this permitted in the R8 as well.
So just to recap, we have a building that's been vacant for 4+ years.
I don't think it's been that long, but I'm not.
So I just
sure.
pulled up the real estate listing, the current agent posted it in August of 2020.
Okay.
Now, it may have been with another agent before that, and he states it was built in 2015. So
and sat for a
I-
year and was used for about a year.
So what happened is the property went through a foreclosure, maybe Tracy knows, 2018 maybe, something like that?
I'm looking at the abstract right now.
It
Oh,
has been
thank you.
vacant for at least 3 years. We saw it 3 years ago, but it was in a bankruptcy and then went to auction and purchased
Oh.
by this most recent owner.
Yeah,
Oh, okay, so at least 3 years since bankruptcy.
probably 3 years.
So the new owner has owned it since about May of last year. So that's probably when the bankruptcy was discharged and he purchased it out of the bankruptcy, most likely.
Okay.
If we can't change pediatric neurophysical therapy or which zones, does anyone have a problem with saying like 15 patients per day instead of 10?
I think that 10 came from Tracy, right?
Mhm.
So it'd have to be applicant driven.
Does it?
So what I would suggest, again, because we wanna keep this as narrow as possible, because to minimize the potential impacts of this use. And because she's indicated that meets her needs, I would suggest that we keep it that way, but if Tracy wants to increase that number at some point in the future, she can make an application to do that. And frankly, by then, we'll have more of a track record, right, to see if it's actually been a problem, and most likely, if it's not been a problem, an amendment like that could probably go through. But
Can I ask a question? Why do you do a PD zone?
PD zones have to have a minimum of 3 acres.
They're not allowed in residential zone.
Well, then, isn't that what they did by Amaron, is they changed the zoning by making it a PD zone instead of PRD?
That's period.
Can you do a PRD zone? Then
Has
it's
to be an
site
acre and a
specific.
A PRD is for residential uses, it's not for medical use or therapy. I mean, it's just like any other residential zone.
Because this was originally medical, you can't change it then,
What's that?
because it was originally the hospice?
Well, that's considered a residential use. Group homes are considered residential, not medical. Because there are people who live there, that's their home. So it's still a residential use.
And if this passes through, then this building will be used and sold to the new owners.
Well, you have to have Tracy back, I think. Yeah. I think that's her intent.
The likely if it being owned by you, if this passes, is high or low? You have a contract on
We're
it?
under contract right now, as part of our due diligence, passing this experience. You know, I'm obviously not gonna buy it if we can't do our business, but if the city approves, then we're hopeful the whole deal goes.
And what does Orem get out of this?
We get a
Do we just wanna be
fantastic,
nice to people or?
we get a fantastic nonprofit in our backyard.
And a little bit of revenue.
Yeah, is there
Do we
increased
get a
revenue?
revenue? I don't,
I mean, it's not
We get-
generating
It's
revenue
nonprofit,
now.
in fact, if they're nonprofit, then
no.
if they don't pay property taxes, then no. But I don't know if they pay property taxes or not, but there'd be very
They would.
good revenue to the city off of this. From a even if they do pay property taxes, it's minimal, probably a few $1,000s would be all.
But we have families who can come to Orem and do other things while their kids
Yeah,
are
that's
being
right.
treated.
And how about the neighbors, are they okay with it?
The neighbors are very, very supportive.
They're probably thrilled to have someone in the building again.
Nobody wants a derelict building in their neighborhood.
And it's for the kids. I like how you do it.
Just citizens, well, someone think of the children.
Yes, it makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay, any other items?
That's it.
Check.
Any other
Start
questions?
check. Okay, 3, good.
That's it. So, if you want a salad or sandwich later, put it in the fridge, because anything left on the counter will be taken away after 4:30. So I know you all are excited to get some.
The sandwiches are really good.
That's it.
Well, just go by what the statute is, we have, I won't be here
stuff and chocolate,
I'm jealous.
someone on the back counter.
We don't have a lot of kids.
Trying to avoid that.
And that's just I should be too.
I
have goals and I actually
Are you still in that?
Otherwise,
It's a healthy, so it's
new
to be.
It's not really. Some of the things I don't know are good. I can hear it.
It seems weird when we say like, just don't pay
It's
the
worth,
line.
it's worth the money and pay
But
for it.
what people do is especially if it all comes.
There's a few mental changes, of course, you don't see any results, but it still helps with certain moments.
No, I'm sure it does.
And
we'll just interpret
Testing 1, 2, 3.
Seems like it's working.
It is 4:30. I'd like to welcome everyone here today. We'll begin with an invocation by Barry Roberts.
Our Father in heaven, we are grateful for this opportunity that we have to be gathered together and to meet and to discuss the things that have been proposed, and we ask thee to bless us with thy Spirit. Help us to know what thou would have us to do and know what's best for Orem and the residents here, and we pray for these things in the name of thy Son, Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen. Okay. Item 3.1.
All right, item 3.1, is vacating Washburn Park Plat A amended, and approving the site plan for Washburn Park Plat B. And it's located in the corner of the 15 and University Parkway. This gives you a better idea of where that is. This is the existing plat. It shows one lot. Currently, there's an IHOP on that lot, and that's it. There's a large parking lot and then a space that's just vacant dirt. So the proposal is to create a site plan that splits it into 3 lots, where IHOP will be lot 1, the car wash will be lot 2, and a lube oil center will be lot 3. And this is the proposed plat. These are the elevations of what the car wash will look like. And the materials on the car wash and the lube bay, the lube oil change center, they all meet the requirements of the HS zone. This is a floor plan for the car wash, basically a long tunnel, and the lube oil change elevations. In both of these locations, the customers will never get out of their vehicle. They will drive through the car wash, they will drive through the lube change. They'll never get out of their car. They'll sit in their car while it's being washed or oil changed. And this is the floor plan of the lube bays. There's also existing landscaping around the perimeter of the property between the 15 and the current property, and then along University Parkway. They will add additional landscaping around the buildings and on the interior part of the property. Parking. The IHOP currently has 59, or has a requirement for 59 spaces. They have 84 spaces. The car wash is required to have 6 parking spaces. They have 6 provided, and the lube center is required to have 14 spaces. They will have 19 spaces. So they are providing 25 spaces of new parking when they're only required to have 20. So there'll be plenty of parking. These are the street views of what it currently looks like now. And staff recommends the Planning Commission approve the vacation of Washburn Park Plat A amended, and approve the plat. Do you have any questions for me?
Does the commission have questions?
I have a question about the Valvoline oil change.
Okay.
It said the customers will not get out of the car, they'll just drive
Correct.
through it. And
They'll just drive in, they'll get the oil changed, and they'll drive out. They'll not get out of their vehicle.
are they required to have a waiting area then?
I think they do have a waiting area. You might want to ask the applicant when he.
Is the applicant?
Yes, he is.
Could you come to the microphone, please?
At the podium, state your name.
I'm David Washburn, owner and general manager for Washburn Management. This is my son Brian, he's our operations manager. Your question is a good question. We've actually covered both scenarios. There is a small waiting room, but the business plan is that they stay in their cars. That's where the highest efficiency is for the operator.
And is it okay for them to hand the car to one of your employees and have them drive it through if they're not comfortable going over the oil bay?
I assume so, but I haven't had that discussion with the operator.
Okay, because I didn't know that that's allowed by your insurance company to have the customer himself drive through.
Hasn't been the case in the past, but it seems to be the new trend in the industry.
Okay, thank you.
Can I ask a question about the car wash? Are there vacuums? Are there vacuum stations at the car wash?
We kind of breezed past that, and it's, do you have a site plan, Cheryl? Okay, yeah. All right, if you look at that, you'll see that there's 2 rows of vacuum stalls to the east of the building. I think there's 15 or 16 vacuum stalls.
Oh, and that's on the far right in this picture, right?
Immediately to the right of the proposed car wash building. There's a row that faces head into the east wall of the
Yeah.
building. And then there's another row opposite with a center drive lane through the middle.
With the loop oil, the entrance and exit will be on the south side?
Yes. Yeah, there'll be no access out onto the parkway. We had an exhibit that showed the primary access drives. Can we bring that back up? Lower, that one.
I see, okay.
The hash marked area indicates common access lanes for both operations. So both customer sets will access from 1250 south in the cul-de-sac to the east.
Questions? Okay, thank you. Well, we'll entertain a motion.
I can do that. I move that the Planning Commission vacate Washburn Park Plat A amended, and approve the site plan and amended plat of Washburn Park Plat B located at 860 West, 1250 South in the HS zone.
A second.
Seconded by Mr. Sakar. Marissa?
Aye.
Barry? Aye.
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 Motion passes. 3.2.
And I just need to remind you, you need to have your mics turned on. I don't know if that motion got recorded because Barry's mic was not on. So just. Okay, item 3.2, Madsen Estates Plat B. This is approving a preliminary plat located at 275 West, 400 South. It's currently one large lot that they are splitting into 2 lots. Lot 1 has an existing house on it, and Lot 2 has an existing garage on it. So typically, the lot is fine now as one large lot, but when we split it in 2, that existing garage would not be permitted. So because they want to keep that garage, they're going to pay a bond, and they will have 1 year to start building their home. Otherwise, the garage will have to come down. Accessory buildings can only take 8% of the total lot size, so the property line has been moved to the north to accommodate that garage on that lot. This is the proposed plat with the existing house on the north lot. This is a street view of what the garage looks like, looking northeast. And this is the existing house, looking southeast. And staff recommends the Planning Commission approve the preliminary plat of Madsen Estates Plat A.
Okay, thank you. Is the applicant present? Do you want to say anything? Come on up to the microphone. State your name.
Taylor Madsen. Yeah, I don't know if you have any questions for us. Just looking to split the lot and reduce some of the yard work size.
Yeah, seems pretty simple. And you've worked with the city to get all the I's dotted and the T's crossed?
I believe so, yes.
Okay, any questions from the commission? All right, thank you. Well, that's pretty easy. I move that the Planning Commission approve the preliminary plat of Madsen Estates Plat A, located generally at 275 West, 400 South in the R8 zone.
I'll second.
Marissa?
Aye.
Barry?
Aye.
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 Okay, motion passes unanimously. 3.3.
All right, item 3.3, a little more complicated. So we are amending Appendix A of the Orem City Code to create a new land use for small pediatric neurophysical therapy businesses and making that use a permitted use in the R7.5 zone, which is a residential zone, and establishing and then writing the code to establish requirements for a small pediatric neurophysical therapy facility in the R75 zone. This is the zoning map for Orem. You can see the bright yellow, that's the 7.5 zone throughout the city. So anywhere that's bright yellow is R75. That's where this would be allowed. The current facility that this applicant is currently trying to acquire is at 1940 South, 375 East, and it has 2 buildings. And this is the ordinance. So it's creating a small pediatric neurophysical therapy facility, and this will provide intensive neurophysical therapy to children ages 17 or under 17 and under. And this would include disorders such as cerebral palsy, traumatic brain injury, spinal bifida, and stroke. And this would be permitted in the 7.5 zone. Currently, this type of facility would be allowed in a commercial zone and not in a residential zone, because outpatient facilities are commercial and they are not allowed in residential zones. So no more than 2 car trips per hour will be generated before 5:30 a.m. or after 9 p.m., and they will provide at least 8 parking stalls. It will be located in an existing residential dwelling without structural or landscaping alterations. The small pediatrics facility will comply with the city building and fire codes, and there shall be no exterior evidence of use on the property other than 1 wall sign no greater than 6 feet square. So this facility is already built, but this would also apply to any future facility in any location in the R7.5 zone. This will comply with the site plan requirements, and this will be configured so that no vehicle will back out onto a dedicated street. They will have to obtain a business license, and the facility, as well as the parent or guardian of such child, may reside at the facility while the child is receiving therapy. So in this case, for this particular applicant, 25% of the children come from out of state, and they would need to stay at the facility. 75% of the children, approximately, are local, and they would drive to the facility for their therapy, and then they would go home. So this is a new SLU code, and this shows what the actual specific location looks like. This foundation is called the Now I Can Foundation. They have been operating in Provo up until now, but they need to relocate to a larger facility. And the applicant has identified this property as one that would meet their needs. So, do you have any questions for me? Staff recommends that you send a recommendation to the city council.
Send some recommendation.
Send a recommendation. That's up to you.
Okay. Is the applicant present? I know she is. Do you want to come up to the podium? State your name.
Thank you. I'm Tracy Christensen.
Sorry, maybe more comfortable if you want to sit at the
Oh.
table there. You might be up there for a while, so you.
Yeah, that's true.
All right, thanks. I'm Tracy Christensen. My husband and I are the founders of Now I Can. So we opened 15 years ago in Orem, actually, and we operated here for 2 years and then moved to Provo. And we do love this building. And so we appreciate, I first have to thank Steve and Cheryl and Rachel. I have wearied them, and they have been very patient and very helpful. with helping us, even though, you know, Steve has concerns about how this would affect the city. And I know, thank you for your time and for letting me say a word in the other room. I do feel like, Joel, will you bring me that map real fast? Thank you. The way that we worded the new ordinance and the new land use code, thank you, it will not apply to anybody else, but now I can, because there are so few intensive physical therapy clinics in the whole country, in the whole world. And there's not one, any other one in Idaho, Utah, Nevada, Arizona, you know, there just isn't any. This is just a little fun map of where we have our patients, and Cheryl's percentage is about right. It fluctuates month to month, how many patients are local and how many come from out of town. And we currently have a little house, we call it the Now I Can Cottage in Provo, where these families stay. We let them stay for $25 a night so they can bring their kids to receive the kind of therapy that they need. We did talk about how if we didn't see any local kids, that we could fit that group home model more cleanly, but we're not going to turn our back on our local kids. And I especially welcome Zach and Evan and Brandon here, who are some of our Orem kids that come to Now I Can. And as we talked about in the other room, there's just not enough pediatric physical therapy. It's hard for them to get the kind of therapy they need. And these kids, because their brain needs to learn new patterns and new skills, that needs the length of time that we offer, not just 1 hour every week or every other week. So we want to still be able to treat those few kids that we do and to welcome our out-of-town guests. And this location would allow us to sell our cottage that we have in Provo and just have those patients be able to stay on site, and we could accommodate maybe 2 or 3 parent and child instead of just 1, as we currently can.
Okay, thank you. Other questions from the commission?
I just wanted to add, I didn't say this before, but it is typically provided for no more than 4 to 5 children at a time. And they typically have 4 in the morning and 4 in the afternoon. So it wouldn't generate a lot of traffic.
Yeah. Okay, thank you.
Yes, and sometimes it is even less than that. And we've been so grateful to the good people of the Cherry Hill neighborhood. We had a neighborhood meeting with them, and we're glad that they would welcome us as their neighbor. And I know that there's some neighborhood members here if you need to hear their opinion about it.
Okay, thank you. This is a public hearing, so we'll open this to the public. If you'd like to comment, come up to the podium, state your name and your address, and we'll be happy to listen.
Bren Whiteman. I live at 373 East, 1800 South, about 2 or 3 blocks away from this facility. Met with Tracy. We met as a neighborhood. Could not support this more. I'm very, very pleased with the work that Tracy and her foundation does. I think it's a huge win for Orem to obtain a facility like this. I believe that it'll be the best use for the facility. And I should say I do speak for a majority. In fact, I would say all the Cherry Hill neighbors who were a little upset when this was first built. The tenant has left. It's been vacant for 3 years. It stayed in great shape, and we couldn't be happier to have Tracy and the Now I Can Foundation be there. So we fully support it. We're aware of the traffic concerns, parking. We've talked about that. We've gone through everything with her the last month and a half, and no concerns on the Cherry Hill residents' part.
Thank you very much.
My name is Patty Henwood. I also live in the Cherry Hill neighborhood. I'm at about 1832 South, 81 East. And I just want to echo what Ren had said, that the Cherry Hill neighbors are thrilled that this has come their way. And I have been really pleased listening to what the options, what the facility will do, of course. There aren't enough facilities for our kiddos. I work with about 800 kids every day as an elementary school secretary, and the need in Cherry Hill, especially neighborhood, is great, and we are thrilled and hope that this will pass through.
Okay, thank you.
My name is Jonathan Cox. This is Zachary Cox. We live at 225 East, 1000 North. And Zachary was born with a neurodevelopmental disorder called low tone. His myelin didn't develop when he was a child the way he was supposed to. And so he didn't meet developmental milestones. At the age of 2, he couldn't even sit up by himself. We heard about Now I Can after we had been doing about 6 months or so of weekly therapy through other sources, and he hadn't made any progress. So we tried out Now I Can, and within a day of working with Now I Can, he was able to sit up on his own, and within 3 weeks, he was walking with a walker, and after a week of walking with a walker, he was walking on his own. And so now he is running, jumping, playing, doing everything that other kids do his age. He's even playing soccer with Orem Rec this season. So we are so happy about Now I Can and fully supportive of them coming to Orem. Thank you.
Thank you.
I live at 1738 South Geneva Road, and this is my daughter Ava, and we have a similar story. She was born with severe hip dysplasia, club feet, and reduced nerve function in her legs. And when she was 3 weeks old, we were told she would never walk and not bother trying. And kind of similar, we did weekly therapy, trying everything we could and making no progress until somebody recommended Now I Can. I couldn't believe it was just down the road from us, and I'd never heard of it. And same thing, within a week or two, she was walking with a walker, and last summer, in January, after another 3 weeks, she started walking without a walker. And she's now walking mostly independent without a walker. After doing 2 years of weekly therapy through the school district and other things, 3 weeks with Now I Can, and she's walking independently. And we just can't say enough about Now I Can and hope that they can grow as they need to so that more people can receive the services that we have and change these kids' lives, because that's what it does. It's changing their lives.
Thank you.
I'm Amy Fox. I live at 1727 North Moore Lane in Orem. This is my son, Brandon, and we've been associated with Now I Can since Brandon was 2. I think we started when he was 2, but he'd like to tell you a little bit about that. So.
Hello, my name is Brennan Fox. I had a stroke when I was a baby. The stroke basically affected my left side of my body. It affected the way I walked, and for a long time I had to use a walker to walk sometimes when I was first learning because of the brain damage that the stroke caused. And I remember when I went to Now I Can, I always loved just going because it was just a fun experience. Even though some stretches hurt, I loved being on the treadmill, which they had me do, and just a really fun experience.
I would just add that not only, as the other parents have shared, did Now I Can make a difference in the physical capabilities and things that Brandon could do, but we found that as soon as we went to Now I Can, we became part of a community that is really valuable to us. And I think that's obvious by the families that have come out today. The things that happen there, it's a special place, and the relationships that are formed are special as well. And so I couldn't love Now I Can more. All of my family, I have an older son who did an Eagle Scout project for Now I Can. The associations have been a huge blessing to our lives in so many ways, not just in the physical benefits that Brandon received from the therapy that he got there. And it's not easy.
working 4 hours a day when you're a little kid on things that are hard.
Yeah.
I think it speaks volumes about of organization that Now I Can is, that Brandon remembers all of the good and that overrides the discomfort that he felt while he was working through those things. So that's all I would say.
All right, thank you.
My name is Rebecca Swindle. I grew up on the other side of the street from this, and interestingly enough, I'm a board member with Now I Can, unbeknownst to me that they wanted to acquire this property when I became a board member. So I have a unique perspective of having parents who have dealt with this property through all these years. It was very hard for them when the original property was purchased, and that use that was used for a little bit. And now seeing it sit empty for years has been a hard thing, wondering about crime or something else that might happen with that particular empty building. So when this proposal came forward, I've walked the neighborhood. I've talked to people that I grew up with, spoken with a lot of them, asking their opinions, not telling them, what they should feel. But I've been surprised at the number of people who have been for a facility, knowing that it would bring positive use. One neighbor that lives 2 houses away teaches piano, and she says she'll have more traffic coming into the neighborhood than Now I Can will. And they're all for it. They're for having something that's positive and that will bring something to the neighborhood. There's been many emails sent on behalf of it, asking questions and receiving answers. So I think it'd be worthwhile looking at some of those if you want to know further neighborhood support. But if that building is there and the neighborhood realizes that it's not going to go away, they would like to see something positive in there that would benefit their community and benefit those who would be frequenting the property. My parents' address, I no longer live there, 1950 South, 424 East.
Thank you.
My name is John Livingston. I live at 1646 South Lakewood Drive, which is across Main Street from where we are here. I've been serving on this board as well, and you've got some really good people here. I have served on multiple 501c3 boards, some are national, etc. This is my favorite of all. Joel and what's your name again? Yeah. I knew it, yeah. Years ago took their own daughter who is here and has just returned from the Texas Dallas East mission. And they took her to Poland for this very therapy years ago and greatly benefited from it, and came back and virtually have brought this specialized therapy to the area and have been a blessing to literally hundreds of kids who would really not be benefited like you've heard already. I think all of you have been touched by what you've seen and heard here, but I just want to verify that they're the real deal. And they're young enough that they're going to be in here for a long time. And I just think it's a wonderful thing to add to that neighborhood, a great blessing for the city of Orem. And boy, they have my entire support, and just good people to the core. Anyway, thank you.
Thank you.
Faces. Sorry. My name is Tiffany Arrhenius, and I technically don't live in Orem anymore, but this is Evan, my son, and he was my second son. And when he was born, we lived in Orem. We were at 508 East and 1910 South, so right up in this area. Anyway, Evan was born 10 weeks early, and he suffers from some hemiplegia, which affects the left side of his body. So when he was born, it was pretty scary, and we didn't know what was going to happen and how we would be and what we should do, and we didn't know where to turn. And we had someone refer us to Now I Can. And I just want to say that it is one of the most amazing organizations that I have ever been privileged to be a part of. And the amount of miracles, real miracles that have happened because of this organization are just dumbfounded. I'm just dumbfounded by it. And we have seen them in our own lives. Should we take this off so they can see your face? There we go. And Evan is 11. He'll be 12 almost. So it's been a while. And we've gone there for like 8 years now. And we moved, so don't hold it against us. We're in Provo technically now, but we're really close to Orem, just right on the border. And so we're close, and we have just been so blessed by that, and it has helped him immensely. And I can just say that one of the things that I was most worried about when we first started going places to get help for Evan was the quality of people, the quality of care, how the business operated, who were the people that were helping them. And I was just floored when we went here, and just everything about the place was loving and welcoming and just completely amazing and so professionally done. It was just a real light for us in a kind of a dark tunnel, when you don't know where the end will be. And so we have been going there a long time. And another thing that really impresses me about this is we've been going there for 8 years, and I feel like whenever we go, it's so quiet. It's been talked about that there's not a lot of traffic, right? In and out, foot traffic. It's just quiet, and it really feels like you're the only parent there with your child, and it's just so one-on-one and just quiet. So there's not a lot of, like it's been said before, there isn't a lot of traffic. It's just these amazing kids doing some hard work. Oh, I'm overtime. He's telling me I'm overtime. And it's just a blessing. And I cannot speak higher. And Orem would just be completely blessed to have a place like this in their city. And that's all I have to say. Do you have anything to say, Evan? No, he says no. But it's pretty fantastic. And you'd be lucky to have him be here in this city. And so would we. So thanks.
All right, thank you.
My name is Larry McPherson. I own property at 1463 South, 110 East in Orem, in the Cherry Hill neighborhood. I have a condo there that I lived in for nearly 16 years until I got married and moved to a bigger home. I've been also serving on the board of Now I Can, and so I've seen kind of all different sides and would echo everything that has been said today. Sometimes we wonder why something gets built in such a way that is not appropriate at the time. Perhaps this building was built for Now I Can at the time. This would be such an amazing location for this type of thing, to allow those not only local but from all over the country that are coming for therapy to be able to come to Orem, to expand business in Orem, and to bring them right into the heart of this community. It would be a great addition to the neighborhood. As a property owner, I fully support this proposal. Thank you.
Thank you.
Terry Peterson, 1125 Linwood Drive in Orem. And God bless you. God bless these children and their parents. And thank you for what you do. I'm on the city council in Orem, and I'm very excited to get to vote for this. If my friends here vote for it, I think you're going to be pretty good shape here. But this is what Orem is. This is the kind of place that we want Orem to be. So thank you for coming back. And for the mother that moved to Provo, I drive through Provo occasionally when I have to go through there to get to Orem. So I understand where it is, but Orem is the place. And just thank you. Thank you for coming here, and thank you, neighbors, for being so welcoming to this project.
Thank you. Well, I think we see the picture. Anybody want to throw cold water on this?
Let me just say one little thing because I don't want to forget her because I named the other kids. But John introduced you to our daughter Colby, sitting right back there. Give a wave, because she's the reason for it all, and super proud of her. She's all grown up, but when she was little, she was doing this therapy too. And I don't know. I hope that ordinance can allow some super seniors that are like, you know, alumni can come back for little therapy even after they're 17. But that's what we're all about, is just helping kids be the most independent they can be.
Okay, thank you. If there are no more comments, we'll close the public hearing portion of this and bring it back for consideration by the council.
Can I just comment? I would.
Sure.
I know that we're kind of limited to this right now, but I would love it if City Council presented something to make even more pediatric outpatient services available, or people able to provide those services in more residential areas. It fits.
So you like the way it feels in a residential area to have something like this?
I live next to an assisted living home. It used to be assisted living. Now it's a preschool. I think an outpatient pediatric thing would fit in there as well. So just throwing it to City Council. Terry, take it away.
I'll make a motion. I recommend that the Planning Commission send a positive recommendation to the City Council to amend Appendix A of the Orem City Code to enact Standard Land Use Code 6264, Small Pediatric Neurophysical Therapy, and make such use permitted in the R7.5 zone, and enact Section 2269L, Small Pediatric Neurophysical Therapy, and to establish requirements for a small pediatric neurophysical therapy facility in the R7.5 zone.
Second that?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, it's unanimous. And thank you for coming tonight.
All right, item 3.4. This is amending portions only of section 221156, which is the PD 43 zone, pertaining to the approved uses in the PD 43 zone for Area B only. And also amending Appendix LL of the Orem City Code with updated concept plans and elevations pertaining to Area B only. This is the location down 2000 South Geneva Road. This is the existing site plan, and you can see that Area B is in that southeast corner, and it's a lot smaller. It was originally dedicated to future office and active adult. It also had a few living facilities there. Those living units have been moved to other areas, so we are not adding any new living areas or units to this development, but we're moving them out of Area B and making Area B bigger. The proposed concept plan is for a larger developable area, and they're changing the use from the future office active adult to commercial, anything that would be included in the C2 zone. There are two concept plans. Well, this shows the existing site plan. This is the proposed one. You can see that Area B is larger here, and if you look at the southwest area, where it used to be a wetlands and open area, it is now, those units have been moved over there, and they have received approval from the Army Corps of Engineers to do this. This shows the changes in the ordinance. It would be eliminating the senior independent living facility and making it commercial, and anything that's permitted in the C2 zone. And also, as I mentioned in the pre-meeting, the masonry fence will not be allowed to be built over a water main. And they can put a panel fence there, they can put a gate, but they cannot put the masonry fence there. This shows concept plan A. They have two concept plans, and they don't know which one they're going to use yet, so we're going to send both of them through and they can choose. This one shows a smaller grocery store with a second-story mezzanine. It also shows commercial fronting Geneva Road and then and down on 2000 South. You'll also notice to the north that the entrance is to the commercial area only. It has been, access to the residential area has been blocked off. They will use the entrance down on 2000 South, which will be developed shortly and in conjunction with Provo City. This shows the elevations for that concept plan. And this is the second concept plan. This is concept plan B. It shows a larger grocery store, eliminating the commercial on Geneva Road and just leaving one pad for a drive-through type of restaurant or food, whatever they want to do for drive-through there. This shows the street view of where it is right now. And they did have a neighborhood meeting. They had two of them, actually. They were originally going to build a multi-story senior living facility on that Area B. And so the first neighborhood meeting was for that. Then they have since changed to where they will do the proposed plans as you've seen in the two concept plans. So they had a second neighborhood meeting for that. These are minutes from the initial neighborhood meeting. And also they had 4 people attend both meetings, and they also received 2 emails. So staff recommends that the Planning Commission forward a positive recommendation to the City Council. Do you have any questions? And the applicant is here with me, ready to answer any questions you may have.
Do you have anything you'd like to say?
Well, other than just answer your questions, but thanks for having me go after that last application. That was pretty impressive. Kind of makes me feel like I'm a little bit trivial now, but my name is Jeff Mansell. I'm the owner of the project. Really, I'm here to answer your questions. I guess I could go back. Could you go back to the original site plan? Let me just explain a little bit as to why we're here. The original zone also included anything in the C2 zone in that Area B. So we're just expanding Area B, but there's a reason for it. Those 19 units, as we've developed this project out, those 19 units don't lend themselves very well to. There has been a parking problem that's kind of grown up because of those 19 units. So the best option was to not build those 19 units. So we're asking to do away with those 19 units, expand out that area to really its original intent, which was for either or, but now we're just limiting it to C2. We're asking to move 12 of the 19 units to the west side. So we're actually reducing the overall units by 7. But what this allows us to do, it allows us to add 19 additional parking stalls up there by the existing roadway for the residents, which should eliminate any other parking problems that we have. So it's kind of a double-edged sword. The easiest thing for me to do would be just to build it out the way it's been planned. That's the sure thing for me, taking a bit of a risk by doing this, but nonetheless, I think it makes the most sense for both the project overall and for that corner as it gets developed out. I'll be in the project for a long time as we're going to be the owners of that corner piece, so I want the project to be sustainable for everybody there, both the residents and the city and us as well.
So do you think commercial makes sense?
Based on what's happening in that area, yes, I do. With Geneva Road being expanded,
Yeah.
they're putting in the intersection this fall. 2000 South will be built by Provo City in the coming year, within the next year or two, at most. With Lakeview Corridor coming in, I think this is the best use in the sense that it creates traffic that's transient in the sense that it's not overnight, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's just there for its purpose, whereas a multi-story senior apartment complex, I think, may have actually contributed a little bit more to the traffic and to the parking problem instead of not. So I think commercial makes a great sense based on our interest in it for sure. And we would really be the first real commercial outside of the small bit that's on the corner of University Parkway in Geneva, west of I-15 from Center Street to Center Street, Provo.
Okay. Any questions from the commission? It's a public hearing, so we'll have comments from the public. State your name.
Yeah, this is Ren Whiteman again. I'm sorry I didn't come for this. I actually have a couple of questions. So I just dropped down off of 2000 onto Geneva, and I'm assuming what you're trying to do is try to fix that parking problem.
Yeah.
That's currently just lined the entire Geneva Road. Okay.
Correct. Yeah. So taking those 19 units away, which would exacerbate the problem.
Yeah.
And adding 19 additional stalls should pretty much do away with that.
Yeah. No, that's great, because my concern as somebody who goes to the Lakeview soccer complex often for my kids is at night, that Geneva Road is lined with cars. My concern was safety. You know, when we start getting snow, younger people are parking across the way and then walking across Geneva Road. That's a 50-mile-per-hour road.
Yeah.
I was very concerned as to what was going on. I had no intention of asking these questions, but I if that is going to help alleviate that problem, I think from a safety perspective, that would be wise on the city's part.
Thank you.
If I could add, commissioners, Sam Kelly here, our city engineer, worked with UDOT on some red curbing down there in that area because we had a sight distance problem when you were pulling out of the development. UDOT got a little aggressive and shut parking down on the entire west side, and then it took, I don't know, Sam, how long? 6 months to 9 months to get UDOT to modify that signage so that some parking on the west side could happen outside of those sight distance triangles. So that's in place now. So some of those cars that were parking on the east side have moved over to the west, so they're not having to cross the street. In addition, Jeff could talk to this, some of the tenants in there that were renting to more than what is allowed by city code, which was creating more vehicles than a unit should have, was creating additional parking stress on the area. So there's a couple mitigation efforts already, and Jeff's effort will greatly improve that.
Yeah, the HOA and us will continue to monitor and stress that the owners must comply with city ordinance. And there's already been 4 units that have sold that have converted just to families instead of rentals because of the efforts to make sure that the owners understand that they must follow those rental guidelines. And some have already also received a fine or 2. So we're doing everything we can to make a sticky situation much better. Sure, we go to the first concept plan. The first concept plan, yeah. So you can see those 19 stalls on the west side of that concept plan that would be added to the residential area back there. And that is about equivalent to the number of cars that you see on Geneva. So we're hoping that it really does just solve the problem for us overall. In addition to the reality that there will be some people that park in that parking lot overnight for sure. I know that, but nonetheless. So I ask you for your positive recommendation to pass it forward.
Okay, thank you. Any other public comments?
I came for the Now I Can, but I'm the first house north of this.
State your name again for the record.
Kristen Palmer, 1738 South Geneva Road. So I didn't know this was actually coming up today, and the parking there is a terrible problem. I've almost been in multiple accidents because of the parking situation on Geneva. And I do know, because it's actually our ward, that some of those units had 5 to 6 single people in it. And I've actually tried calling and reporting it to Orem City, to a city council member, and they told me it wasn't their problem. So anything we can do to help that is great, because it has been a real problem with the parking there. I am curious, though, since I do live right there, I wasn't notified of a neighborhood meeting. How was the notification given? Because I didn't receive any sort of notification about a neighborhood meeting.
They were sent to the within 500 feet of the Area B.
Yeah, I'm the very first house next north from the fields. But anyway, so sorry, can you clarify again? You said any sort of commercial?
No, anything within the C2 zone, which is a smaller, it's a less intrusive type of commercial. Yeah.
The C2 zone is generally runs along State Street, so what you would normally see on State Street would be allowed there.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? All right, we'll close the public hearing and bring it back to the commission for discussion and a motion.
Pretty clear.
Okay.
That area does need more commercial.
I agree. I think commercial makes sense there. All right, I move that the Planning Commission forward a positive recommendation to the City Council to amend portions of Section 22-11-56 PD-53 Auburn Meadows, 43 Auburn Meadows, 2000 South Geneva, pertaining to the approved uses in the PD 43 zone for Area B, and also amending Appendix LL of the Orem City Code with updated concept plans and elevations pertaining to Area B.
I'll second.
Marissa?
Aye.
Barry?
Aye.
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 Donna?
Aye.
Okay, votes unanimous. Thank you, Jeff. Mr. Clark?
As always, thank you for your service, making sure we have a quorum tonight, and it was nice to have a inspirational item for once, so. And I don't know about you, but I was about tearing up here, so it was really impressive.
Thank you. Okay, we need to approve the minutes.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Marissa?
Aye.
Barry?
Aye.
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 Okay, the minutes have been approved. We've come to that golden moment. Going once, twice.
Move we adjourn.
Second.
Aye.
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 All right. Thank you. Meeting is adjourned. That's right. We even have a soundtrack. I know, that was great.